think this is going to be the most laid back, funniest interview I've ever done. So it better be. You know, no pressure though. But you better bring the fucking ha-has, okay?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Somebody's squeaking over here on the right. It ain't me.
Ignoring that. And so prepare yourself, guys. Chris with T3 Medias. I am here with a good friend of mine that just met for the first time today. Can you believe it? Catalina. How am I going to say the last name wrong? Humphrey?
It's going to be Catalina, Lissett, Humphrey.
Oh, okay. Me culpa. All right. We're already off to a start where I'm going to get corrected on my own show. Okay, yeah, thank you. I'm going to get used to that. Yep, that's what happens. Yep, the whipping. I'm not going to follow that up.
No, it'd be that gift from on Facebook with the whip. It comes and it hits you.
I should put that sound effect in there.
You should be like
every time, because it's probably going to happen more than once during this whole thing where you just cut me right at the ankles. Just put that sound effect in. Or that yeah.
Or the Because always say Puerto Ricans with the knife, you know.
Before this goes out of control, trust me, guys. This will all go out of control real fast at any moment. So I'm gonna try my best. But I've been cracking up for the past. How long has it been now? 30 minutes, an hour.
We were just starting
listening to mashups.
That's right.
And all my boring stuff that I like to watch on the internet too. But your stuff was all. What was that mashup again?
It was Connor Maynard, and he was with Pixie Lott, the Vamps, Alex Iono, I forgot who the other guy was, but so he would bring like 90 songs, 80 songs, and mash them up together, and so you had to pick out if Connor Maynard sang it better than the Vamps, Pixie Lott, whoever he's going up against. And
the interesting thing about it wasn't just a regular mashup. They would keep going with new songs every few seconds, and that's what was throwing me off at first. I'm like, whoa, this kind of feels like a rap battle in a way.
But the beat in the background is what was interesting because they had the beat of Bruno Mars, for instance, with Pixie Lott, and then they threw in No Diggity, No Doubt,
songs from way back that you just do not see coming.
Usher.
From the 90s, 80s.
Yep. Wham! They had Wham the first one that you heard.
I was done. Wake Me Up Before, was that Wake Me Up?
Wake Me Up Before You Go, and then it wasn't me.
That's probably what I would do if I was ever in one of those situations. I'd just bust out some George Michael's.
Oh, I love George Michael. Yeah. He's my favorite.
Oh my God, he passed away, didn't he?
He died. He did.
I'm always forgetting that. I feel like I can't. It hasn't sunk in yet. It's been years.
His last album was actually one of my favorites. I have all of his CDs, all of them.
Of George Michael's?
George Michael.
Because he was still producing music, wasn't he? I'm not thinking about George Michael or Boy George, who was DJing.
That's Boy George.
Boy George.
George Michael was a little bit above.
Yeah, he didn't have to go to the.
No, he had to go there, man. He was like, backing up for Elton John,
Oh my God, yeah, that's right. But I'm always forgetting that he died. Every time I think about George Michael, I'm always having to remind myself, oh my God, he's gone.
Yeah, Prince is gone. Michael Jackson when he's gone, like all the ones that we grew up on.
Can I confess something real quick? I cried a little bit when Michael Jackson died. I'm not gonna lie, it hit me.
Well, when I saw his autopsy photo, I felt bad that he was, first of all, that you were able to see his autopsy photo, but that was what
the last thing people always released that.
Right, but the thing is that's the last image that you have of him, not like the way that we knew him from Thriller and from Beat It and from
somebody from the hospital from the
right, and you could see where and you can see where right here
where they cut him.
Yeah, it was, and then his nose was off.
Was it?
No, it was a straight up.
After trying to investigate what killed him and whatnot.
It was when he was actually in the ER in the facility, and he was just laid out, and he was already dead. I mean, you can tell.
They did the same thing, I think, to Tupac. They always the paparazzi's always trying to get him there.
Selena was.
I didn't know they did it to Selena.
Oh yeah. She's on. If you go to Rotten.com, they have the celebrity deaths, and you can see where she was shot in the back and. And the family try to get it, same thing with Nicole Simpson. And like I've seen Tupac, I've seen JFK, I've seen Elvis, I've seen
the photos
Michael Jackson. I saw Robin Williams.
Wow.
I've seen all of them.
And the sick thing about it is it's because there's a demand for it. People are.
It's not a demand. I think for me, for my own, why I looked for it is because I just was interested in when you want to know the why,
Right.
like why did they decide to do? I mean, when it's suicide, because I lost my dad to suicide, so I guess the curiosity
of it.
is, why do they feel the need to do that, and how did they do it, and then to see, because I always liked forensics, so that's probably.
But I mean, it's not. But the forensics guy or the guy in the hospital is not supposed to release these, right? It's somebody actually convincing them to release it. Or
well, no, I mean
it's
it's somebody that took. I mean, a nurse can walk by someone that died and take the picture.
And her can take a picture and whatnot.
And then they sell it, but and then of course that source is held anonymous.
Yeah. And that's what I meant. Like, if there wasn't, they know that it's going to sell or it's going to get clicks, and that's where the demand comes from. But it's like, wow. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do if a loved one was, because it's disrespectful in a way. But at the same time, you're curious, and you're not trying. And it's not like you're not trying to disrespect the family, but you're genuinely, because you probably like the artist, you're genuinely curious.
Okay, so I'll put it to you like this. I think when the beheadings came, Daniel, here's a perfect example, was the one that got the most notoriety was, I think his name was Daniel Pearl. And he was the journalist that went over there, and they kidnapped him, and they
cut his head off, and they recorded it live, right? Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen that.
People couldn't look away.
I'm sure you did. This was in 2000 and I think it was 2000. It was
it's the same
early
video
2000s.
that I remember. I remember when I worked overseas, there was a new video of that was circulating around.
He had glasses on, and then they took it off. And then there were several. There was one that was a contractor who had the orange suit on.
And he screamed that he loved his family before they.
But my point is, you saw it.
But I didn't watch it. I saw it pop up in my inbox, and
but there's the most watched one was Daniel Pearl.
Yeah.
And it was like, he was there, and he took it. I mean, he didn't even. He
didn't scream. He didn't give them what they.
No, he took
it. They try to get you to denounce your country and all that stuff.
Yeah, and he didn't do that.
And beg for your life and whatnot. Yeah.
Right. So, but that was widespread. I mean, that you could not open up Google or anything without seeing that.
I was a contractor, so I would have gotten fired for opening that email, but it did. You're right. It circulated like.
I mean, it wouldn't have been your fault. I mean, even if you would have opened up, it would. I mean, they even showed it on the news.
Yeah.
Up to the point before you could see. So I mean, you could actually see. I mean, that was already out there, and it was like, there was the other one was Bud Dwyer. So in 1983, what happened was, and this is the one that interests me. I don't know, as a kid, in the where you and I grew up. You remember Worst Faces of Death?
I remember that.
Okay, so in the Worst Faces of Death, I saw all of them. And
I heard of them. I refused to watch some of them.
I wouldn't watch the ones with the animals. I didn't like that one, so I wouldn't. I think I don't approve of that. But the one that I remember, it stuck with me when I was a kid to when I got older, and I actually went in the background to see what happened. I did some research on Bud Dwyer, and so what happened was he was a treasurer. He was in a treasurer in, I think it's Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh. And he was accused of using the monies for his personal benefit. Well, come to find out that when he was accused of that, he had never in all the years taken money, no bribes or anything like that, but he was accused of that. And he held they made him resign, and he held a press conference.
Was he like a politician, or
he was a treasurer? So he was the state treasurer.
Okay.
The state treasurer.
Okay.
So by doing that, he held a press conference, and he was going to announce his resignation. So he had his assistant come up and bring a yellow folder. So they brought the folder up, and as soon as he had all these people gathered, and there was a news crew right in front of him, and he pulled the gun out. And then everybody started freaking out, right? Everybody started, and he's like, and he was like, just if he the first thing he said was, if you have a weak stomach, you need to leave the room. And they're like, no, please don't do that. And the minute that they were trying to do this, he just went. I think he went like this, and boom, or he went like this.
Yeah, under his chin.
And you could just, and then he just kind of slid, and then the cameraman was just like, and
he kept
going. I mean, he kept it on, and then his associate came in front of him like this, and he was like, you guys need to step back.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about it was that he he had the last word.
Yeah.
Even though, his family was still able to get his retirement and stuff like that, but it was like he went out on his terms.
On terms, yeah.
Right. And then, so there was like a lot of clips that I remember from that. The other one was, there was a woman where her daughter was murdered. And she went to to her grave with a news crew. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the news crews are, her daughter was raped and murdered. And she was going to put flowers down at her daughter's grave. And her husband, she was deathly afraid of him. So somebody contacted the husband. And the husband shows up. And right when she's walking towards the grave, she's got her back turned like this. Mm-hmm. The husband comes and shot her 6 times right there. Bam. Just boom. Right there. And right in front of the news and everybody. Because somebody...
At their own daughter's grave?
At their daughter's grave. That
was he the one who killed her?
I don't remember the specifics, but I remember that it was domestic violence.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I remembered, and it stuck with me, was when a martial arts instructor had raped a little boy. Mm-hmm. And he actually kidnapped the boy and ran, and the marshals found him.
Yeah.
And the marshals called the father and said, "We found him."
Yeah.
They go to the airport, and he had his back. The father had the back turned. He had like he was talking on the phone, and as soon as he saw him, boom, shot him right there.
When he didn't still have the boy with him at the time. He was They already got the boy.
Right, but they had notified the father and said, "Hey, we caught him," and they flew him. Yeah, but this was huge. This was big news, And what he did was he had his back turned like he was talking on the phone, and as soon as the news crew was coming, saying, "Hey, the guy that raped this little boy," because it was his karate instructor. Yeah. And his father just couldn't let it go. Yeah. His father, and his father, and you could hear it. I mean, he just walked up, bam.
How long ago was that one?
God, that was, and I'll never forget that neither. It was, because I had no sympathy. I mean, I thought if it was me, I would have done the same thing. Yeah. And you're in Texas, so.
But you,
but that stuck with me because I was in martial arts for a very long time. So it was like
that betrayal.
It was extreme, yeah. And so I think he did it. I mean, I think he did manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter. But he only did like 2 years. I mean, it wasn't like. But what I'm saying is I
gotta look up what he was actually sentenced for. Involuntary? Because that's premeditated.
When we get off of here, I'll show you and see how long he had.
Unless because of the stipulations they
emotional disturbance.
Yeah. I mean, of course, but manslaughter maybe, but involuntary, that would be a stretch. Even when you sympathize with them, involuntary, like, wow. All the people in the world who get thrown in jail.
I believe he only did like 2 years.
I can understand the sentencing being reduced, but the word involuntary is like, I don't know.
I think it was involuntary, or it could have been involuntary or manslaughter.
I would think
probably manslaughter.
Yeah, involuntary manslaughter means it was an accident.
No, it was probably manslaughter.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just, I mean, I think it's kind of, but what I'm saying is like at our age, because I'm 40, so in the 90s, we had like worse faces of death. Like now, kids have Live Leak, they have, Rotten.com, they have a lot of
dark web.
Well, I know the dark web, but I mean, like, or I went to Best Gore. Because my buddies that are like paramedics and police officers, they'll upload
all that stuff.
I
remember Faces of Death.
Yeah, because there was like Faces of Death 1, 2, and 3.
Killsometime.com. I remember.
Well, I mean, you can go to you can go on YouTube and it's right there. It's right there.
It's still all there. Definitely, it's all YouTube.
My favorite stuff was, and I had my daughters watch it with me, was Dr. Michael Baden. That's my favorite. Is Autopsy on HBO.
You know the one that
That is my favorite. All those episodes are my favorite. I love them.
Have you ever seen? Did you ever watch the one going back? Did you ever watch the one? What was it? The Crocodile Hunter. Did you ever see his? How he died?
Yeah, the stingray.
The stingray.
He was killed in. Yeah, I saw him, and then he was. It was a manta ray.
I heard that you can see it, and I still to this day I still haven't watched it yet, even though I've heard they.
Yeah, you can. You can see. Well, he was down in the water, and the manta ray came. And
with his tail, right?
Yeah, and stung him, and he just floated. Yeah. He was just floating, and so you don't really see any. It was instantaneous. You could tell he didn't suffer.
Yeah,
and it was So I mean, at least you don't see him suffering, and then his son, oh my God, his son is
He had a son too. He had a daughter. I know
they had his both, but
okay.
his son is a wonderful photographer. I mean, this kid's 14. I mean, I even posted it on my Facebook, and I got like a whole bunch of shares. And I mean, his kid is 14 years old, and he's actually been National Geographic several times for his photography of animals.
Because
he's so good. Oh my God!
But
you need to see his work. Robert Irwin.
Okay.
He's really good. I mean, I was impressed. I mean, because me in photography, but he was really good. I mean, I've never seen photographs like to that level for a child being that young.